Right, I'm Paul. I'm the founder of No Men Down, leaving no men down, or just a friend of yours on Facebook, random or otherwise. Um, and so this morning, after I put the bins out, did the ironing, changed the oil in the car, and provided a sensitive ear to my children and their challenges, and painted my toenails, and thought about what I wanted to wear today, and put another log on the fire. I jest about the toenails. I felt compelled to write down my thoughts. It's too long for a post, I've come to realise, and I don't wish Meta to take this as their own either, so I will read it to you all. It's about what it is to be a man or to be a woman. I think women will find this interesting too. And obviously, if I feel like it feels like I'm reading to you, I am. I'm afraid because there's a lot I've covered. But I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come away with something from it, as a man or a woman, and actually as a member of society, and about mental health and how it affects all of us. All right. Well. Oh, and all you men, no men down. I'm thinking of starting a no one down. I think it's equally as important from what I've read recently. But I will shut up in a manner of speaking, and I'll get on with the reading. What makes a man or a woman is in the most part down to genetics alone and a whole ton of social programming, but not entirely. Of course, we are often wired differently, but that is where transgender comes in, whether you like it or not, whether someone feels in their soul they are something else. It is for us to find an equilibrium of masculine and feminine within us. For me, I don't like football or any sports particularly, and a lot of women do. I don't like hand tools and DIY, and a lot of women do. I'm stronger than some women physically, but weaker than others. And I've witnessed childbirth twice. So I do happen to want to question this anyway. I do know I think differently to a lot of women in some ways as a man, but I also know I think a whole lot differently to most men too. And I know a whole load of women who think like me. I do also see in that regard where there are still some genetic mindset differences. For example, I always mention I'm more like a woman than a man, but I know inherently there is a biological difference in how I and those women think, which is not social programming. I also know I can be more empathetic, compassionate and sensitive to emotion than some women too, and be more open with it. So where is this line of what a man and a woman are? We're only confined to the constructs of our predetermined thoughts on being a man or a woman. I've had to be a mother and a father to my children. They have a mother. What I mean is that I have had to take on both roles in their support, care and love by having them sort of half the week in the past, and when I have them, and I've taken pride in that. So giving them care, support and love. So I find it difficult to see when it's easy for a man to dismiss things like taking on this betterment of their children's well-being, and hard when I see this divvy up of blue and pink jobs and roles and responsibilities. Men and women guilty of that entirely. It doesn't help that in our DNA this has been learned too, and that inherently the male would be the one who is looking far out and far wide for the hunting element. A man is always looking for an exit at the party and all those kind of wider points, whereas a woman will be picking up on the more intricate parts of that same room, and is why a man will not see the ketchup bottle in the cupboard and will man scan, only to find a woman will instantly go reach for it right in front of the man's eyes, and comic value, but it is a thing, isn't it? I grew up in the 80s, and I've seen the change that started before then, in balance of women and men, and I also saw how the school system encouraged a gender split in those are sort of late 80s, 90s, and also saw how some women abuse this balancing of the sexes and why there are certain views of men around women getting a fairer deal. I stress I don't agree, but I have seen that. I do also see where there is still imbalance. I did HR for years and I could never imagine paying one person less for a job than another. Man, I even think that under 21 pay thing is rubbish and unfair. I mean, what if you're fending for yourself at 16 and yet you're not entitled to the same minimum wage as someone who's 21 and lives with their parents? But I digress on that topic, of course. But fair is fair across the board. I will add and reiterate that it is not even about physical strength in a role. If a woman who tends to be physically weaker can lift and haul and carry and physically cope with a manual role that would be typically a man's job, then they should get the job and further be paid the same for it. Historically, housework was far more physically demanding anyway, until technology caught up. Should have seen the muscles on my nana, honestly. Just the way it was. Historically also, women held more power in the ancient and recent world history than we have all been led to believe, and I think there's a real stock in the saying, behind every good man is a good woman. I don't wish this to seem like I'm somehow slanted towards women here, because I'm not. I do find difficulty, however, in men who think their recent challenges as a man are based on the rise of women and their new-ish found rights and equality. But I also find difficulty in women who assume that stereotype of me too and expect of me to perform certain roles and keep a certain way and not be true to myself and my emotions and to man up. Women have been properly beaten down over the centuries, however, and I think it would be unfair for anyone to deny that. I think it is also important that we meet one another at an equal juncture, rather than women actually or perceivably excelling us and as men feeling left behind, hurt and bitter as they find their new place, and yet we are left with voids where the historical societal template is broken. As I mentioned, this is not the point here, and no one is to blame for any balances being restored. People bring something to the party in any society, relationship or team. As mentioned, some women are DIY dons, whilst the father or the male is the one who excels at the housework and or has the natural affinity with the children. No man or woman should feel like they have a predetermined role, or that they cannot be honest about their feelings, or that they should think a certain way. People ask me, why a men's group? And often assume it is something which it is not. I'm not trying to help men get back to where they were, but to where we all need to get to, comfortable in this new society of ours. I did also used to say, because men struggle with their feelings, emotions and their place in the world, and I still agree to a point, but I was never trying to teach men how to be archetypal hunters and bushcraft experts, or to bring us back to the old ways, which I sense would make some men more comfortable to be able to be back in the provider role and the head honcho. I don't think we ever were totally. As I've embarked on this, I have been able to reflect on my own life experience and of others' experiences too. I realise that women are struggling too, and in fact in the UK mental health is dire across all people, especially our children, but that's another matter. I would like to help anyone who is struggling with their mental health if I can. I realised personally that an ex of mine struggled a lot more than I did to express herself and process her emotions, and in the stereotype we've been programmed to believe it was more the man, she was more the man than I was, and I was more the woman than she, in the cold light of day. This has spurred me to rethink this, or more so, be galvanised that we all need an equilibrium of masculine and feminine, and that we are all entitled to be who we are. We should all have a place to be able to express our uniqueness and to thrive in whatever way we see fit, and harmonise with all, knowing there is purpose to us all being different and us all having a natural acumen for certain tasks which are not blue and pink, and the colour is irrelevant, and that how we identify, whether it is a man who is a man or a woman who is a woman, or as anyone who has felt the need to reassign themselves, all persons has something to offer. And what I do certainly know is the key to all of this is love, dialogue, and the safety to be able to express yourself and to talk, compassion and acceptance, not understanding. How could you possibly understand each other or the mindset of another internally? And to unravel the myth that you must think, you must feel, think, or be a certain way. I hope that was useful. No men down, no one down. Thank you.